Always just a little bit of an apprehensive moment when I hit the go live button to make sure that we're actually going live.
Apprehension, and we're sitting here and we're wondering, is technology going to fail us today or not? And but I don't know. You know what? Even if it fails us, I'm happy. I mean, I'm sitting here looking. I'm still in that game of Tron. I'm working to get to the end of it.
I kind of refreshed our graphics a little bit, and speaking of that, I just want to mention that we always try to have a backup plan. So if for some reason we really get zucked and Zuck doesn't let us go live on Facebook, and by the way, of course, we're streaming live simultaneously to YouTube, but if both of those fail, the software does record this. And so we could just go on and ramble to ourselves, and then we publish it later. So there's always a plan. And speaking of a plan, we've got about 24, 25 people watching and more people joining by the minute. So I say we go ahead and go to a countdown. Let's get the popcorn out of the way. We'll get everything shared out. And folks, as usual, we'll be right back in about 2.5 minutes. What do you think there, Mr. Duke Lowry?
Sound like a plan. Let's roll.
All right, countdown it is. We'll be right back. Folks, start texting and tagging people. We've got lots to talk about, including the school board, the Cypress District, and their leeching lawyers, as well as more on the city council. We'll be right back. Well, we have made it through another countdown. We are on, as a matter of fact, drum roll, please. I don't have a drum roll thing, but I tell you what I do have. Let's go and we'll show our topics. Get a little applause. Woohoo! Okay, see, we even have applause tonight. I'm just trying to jazz everything up.
Boy, those topics right there, that ought to, as somebody once said, okay, how does that go? They said, you'll know this politician. If that don't light your fire, your kindling's wet, or your firewood's wet, or remember that saying?
Yeah, but I can't remember what the whole exact deal is. But yeah, it's something about your kindling being wet. I don't know. We'll figure it out here in a second. Maybe some of the other folks in here that have gray hair like us. Barry Butler says fake applause. Now, Barry, That was about as real as you can get with the applause. Come on now, give us a little break. Nah, it was fake applause.
Barry,
Sorry.
Barry, 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 Barry. Barry, we're going to talk about a subject that I know is important to you tonight. And we're going to be talking about the police jury a little bit,
Oh yeah,
too.
the police jury and some frickin' Yosemite Sam stuff.
That sounds loud and hideous.
Well, that would be pretty much the police jury sometimes. Not so loud, but sometimes hideous. Okay. Um, so I've got a couple of topics listed here. First one is, did the city council actually lie yesterday? And the leeching lawyers at Cypress. And then number three, the police jury and their making noise against fracking. But we also have some information to share out about the mask situation at the schools, don't we? Do we want to go ahead and just tee up with that real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah, we're going to run down that. And real quick, hello, Ronald Cheatham, Ashley Bullock, Jimmy Richardson. Jimmy Richardson says, hey, guys, hope y'all both in tall cotton tonight. I like some of that old school slang.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, y'all. Yeah, so did you see, Rex, that the governor took a little bit of action on the COVID madness today?
Yeah, I saw the notification for his press conference or whatever. Honestly, I can't stand listening to him. You know, like a lot of people, he reminds me of um, the Waterboy's daddy. So it just drives me insane.
Yeah,
So,
right,
so
right.
I just wait for the highlights, and yeah, that is taking a personal cheap shot. But hey, it is what it is. All right. Anyway, but what's the deal on the mask mandate?
Well, you know, and I'm really kind of just catching up on it. I'm kind of behind the curve on here, and I may totally butcher this thing a little bit, but and he may have even took the action yesterday. I don't 100% know, but what I do know is that all of a sudden today I started getting some messages and some emails from people, and boy, they had some rocks, and I don't know if I'd say they were rocks. I might would say they were boulders,
Hmm.
and they were throwing at the Bossier Parish School Board.
Well, you've got to be kidding me.
All
Surely
right.
nobody is unhappy with our Bossier Parish School Board. So
Well,
all right, and I pulled up the Bossier Now website, and so they've got the breaking news. Hal does over there that masks are optional beginning Wednesday in Bossier Parish schools. Now, why would anybody be unhappy about that?
well, you know that on at a glance you think, hey, we're the mass Nazis are giving in, and they're backing off, and freedom, hey, but it just so happens that there would seem to be strings attached. If
Oh,
you know how it is, there's always strings. You take the money, you got strings, right?
yeah, always.
So supposedly, as the story goes, is that if you made the decision to do away with the mask, you had to reintroduce contact tracing again.
Really? Hmm. Hmm.
So what that means is basically for the folks and this is as I understand it, a lot of you out there watching, y'all probably know better than us, so comment. But if you're vaccinated, you ain't got to worry about all this crap, right? So,
Well,
but
in theory.
if you're unvaccinated and you're in the presence of somebody that ends up testing positive, you're going to have to quarantine.
Wait a minute. Okay, so I'm a little confused. Bear with me, and I'm paying attention to the electronics and all that here. Uh, so they've kind of reinstated mandatory quarantine now.
Yeah. So last week, with they week it may not even been last week. I don't even remember the times flying by. Remember we talked about the law firm that represents the majority of all the school boards, and that they're one of the major donors of John Bell Edwards, and maybe that their counsel to the school boards is steering them in positions to maybe follow the governor's mandates, right? We
Right.
alluded to that or suggested maybe that's where they were going. Well, how ironic that now you remember that school board meeting, the Bossier Parish School Board goes into executive session to talk about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Remember
Right.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, now what body have you and I talked about before that used their council as a way to try to skirt the open meeting laws to
That
talk about things?
wouldn't be those dumbasses up at the Cypress District, right?
Oh yeah, that was what I was thinking. Yeah, that up there. So anyway, they went into executive session to talk about this as we understand it, and then they come back out and they don't take any action. So 1 week later, they institute the recommendations of Cade Brumley. And remember, we talked about Cade Brumley, who put a proposal out there to try to give some slack, I would argue, to the parents and stuff across the state.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody was kind of like happy. Hey, the Bossier School Board, they did something to kind of help the parents out a little bit.
Right.
But a lot of people seem to think, and this is what I'm getting in these messages, they seem to think that, you know what? The Bossier Parish School Board knew a couple of weeks ago that this was coming around the time when they went in that executive board meeting. They knew that this was coming, and all they were doing was just trying to drag out until this happened here.
Surely not.
That's what everybody's thinking. So I'm just wondering, Bossier Parish School Board, I mean, why can't you be straight with the public? If that is accurate, it would seem to me they're not being straight with the public.
Yeah, and so I was looking at the notes and then pulled up this over on Bossier Now's article. It says masking is still mandated on school buses per presidential order. Now, riddle me this, Batman. If you're wearing a mask on the bus, if the disease is still so prevalent that you've got to wear a mask in close proximity on a school bus, then shouldn't it logically be dangerous enough that they should have to wear the mask all the time in school? I mean, does the virus magically just stay on the school bus? And what about the poor kids that get left for 6 hours on the school bus? Are those that, they don't do the check and leave the kid on the school bus? Are they required to wear the mask too?
Perhaps that is the new quarantine regime in Bossier. I don't know.
That's right.
Maybe somebody watching can tell us. Is that one of the new protocols for quarantine?
Yeah. If your child doesn't want to wear the mask, fine. They get to ride around on the school bus in the back of the bus for 5 to 6 hours, completely unsupervised, and the school won't even notify you that they're not in school. Okay. I'm sorry, we digress a little bit if you haven't read that news article from a few days ago.
Yeah, right. I just got to ask, and I'm going to close on that one and be done. I think this is nothing more than you're right back to trying to go down this road of forcing people to vaccinate. It don't matter if you've got the antibodies. None of that crap matters. They want you to get the jab no matter what. And your elected officials are taking it all hook, line, and sinker, and they're taking the counsel of an attorney who's doing the bidding of the governor. I mean, when are we going to have elected officials that are going to have a backbone and stand up, for you, the people? When are they going to do it?
Yeah, and I'm looking at some of these comments. I think you're absolutely right, Duke. But Kaylee Larkin shared, which is why they voted a few weeks back to choose the option offered by Ochsner's to hire an additional employee per school for $33,000 per school. So I'm not really sure what that's about. Because I didn't read any of that.
They got $71 million. So for COVID stuff, I think they probably could afford it.
Yeah, Ashley Lee Bullock says, I feel that is legit. Your ass is left on the bus for 6 hours. Masking is mandatory. And Ken Jenkins can finally comment. We're happy to see that.
I wonder, was he in jail or what?
I don't know. I don't have like a comment ban. I mean, I can ban somebody from comments, but I can't just ban one person who can't comment in the comments. They're either banned completely or not at all. So who knows? But anyway, we're so glad that you can comment tonight, Ken. So feel free to comment away. All right. So that's a little bit about the school board and the mandates, which was a little bit extra that just happened. Yeah, Ken Jenkins says he's fresh out of jail like Tupac.
So speaking of, law firms and lawyers, and elected bodies or in unelected bodies using lawyers to hide behind or skirt open meeting laws, that brings to mind that body and organization that we talked about in the past a lot.
Oh, yeah,
Where
and I honestly, it just it aggravates the fool out of me to talk about them, but it is important. It is news, and so we need to dive down this rabbit hole. At least for a few minutes and bring everybody up to date. And, kind of one of the predictions that I've been saying for several weeks now seems to have come to fruition. And so we'll kind of review that. Let me get this software here set up. Give me just a second here. So, yeah, we've got a little bit of news on the Cypress District and their lawyer time front. And so I'm going to have to go down in the weeds here for a second.
And to everybody watching, the why, most of you, if you haven't followed the Cypress District debacle, almost all of you pay taxes for all of this. This is your dollars, it's your money. And, I seen a video here the other day, and David Montgomery, King David, was talking about how such a fine job they've done out there here recently. Interesting that he'd make them comments and be complimenting how good of a job they've done out there.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I was going to try to have some of that video queued up. I guess we could scroll through and find it, but we may save it for another show. Okay, so let me switch us over, and let me just kind of walk everybody through this right here. So back in 2011, so we're backing up, a little over 10 years ago, on August the 9th of 2011, the Cypress District hired or retained or whatever the Ayers Law firm, which is a Caddo law firm. So our tax dollars, if you don't know, over 80% of the precincts in Bossier Parish are actually funding a Caddo Parish law firm. As a matter of fact, an average of about $120,000 a year we're paying a Caddo law firm to turn around and sue people in Bossier Parish. So just keep that in mind. So back in 2011, the Cypress District retained the Ayers Law firm. From 2015 to 2020, the Cypress District has spent $719,897.39 on legal fees. Plus, as of July of this year, they have spent an additional $106,283.23. And again, that's just as of July. So in other words, they're spending a lot of money on this law firm. And again, most lawsuits are against, landowners around Cypress and Black Bayou. Okay, so we need to fast forward again because I don't know if you remember, but back in 2019, the Cypress District attempted to do basically 100% millage or tax increase against the citizens of Bossier Parish. Again, about 80% of everybody. All right. That failed miserably. And around that time, people started really, truly paying attention to what was going on with the bureaucrats out at the Cypress District, and specifically with the law firm, too. All right. So fast forward to, June 30th of 2020, the Louisiana Attorney General met with the Cypress District and Robert Berry, the embattled executive director out there, and he opined or gave his opinion that general counsel required his approval. All right. So why is all of this important? Well, jump forward a little bit more to July the 14th of 2020. So this is last summer, not this past, but summer before last, right in the middle of COVID. The Cypress District passed this resolution that I've got on the screen right here. And this is Resolution 2020-003. And you can see I've kind of got it highlighted here. Let me see if I can kind of scroll through this. And, they do the general whereas the Cypress District is a political subdivision of the state. And their claim, as you can see right here, the district does not fall, or they claim the district does not fall within the category of revised statutes 16.1 and 42.261. And so the DA of Bossier Parish is not required to represent the district. All right, so let's pause here for a second. In most cases, the district attorney's office is required in the state of Louisiana to represent the government entities. For instance, the Bossier Parish Police Jury. Patrick Jackson is the counsel for the police jury. He is an assistant DA. Okay? But in the Cypress District, their contention is they don't fall under those guidelines. Now, there's some debate about that. That's just what the Cypress District, and specifically the Ayers Law firm that's getting paid $120,000 a year on average, that's what they claim. You know, they like their golden goose. Okay. And they also go down here and they claim, you know, they mentioned back in August of 2011 there was a regularly scheduled meeting. They hired the Ayers Law firm. And there was a meeting on June 30th with the Attorney General of 2020, June 30th of 2020. And the Attorney General said that the district is required to obtain approval from the Attorney General to retain the Ayers Law firm as its general counsel. All right? But notice the next line. The district is saying, and again, this is their Ayers Law firm that wrote this, says they would rather comply with the opinion of the Attorney General to avoid the inconvenience and expense of litigation. What does that sound like to you, Duke? When they say they would rather go along with the Attorney General and they'd rather avoid the expense of litigation.
Sounds to me like they're lawyers.
Sounds like they're lawyers, and they're basically threatening that we'll go along with this for now, but if you try to pry us out of here and away from these thousands and thousands of dollars, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, we're going to sue to get pried out of here. And so that's why I call them the leeches. You just can't hardly get them out of there. All right. And then we go on down. The district respectfully requests that the AG approve the retention of the Ayers Law firm as its general counsel from July 14 of 2020 to July 14 of 2023. All right. And again, here I've got it highlighted. They mentioned general counsel. Okay. So that's a resolution that the Cypress District passed. And there's a certification of it and all that kind of good stuff. All right. Fast forward a little bit more. September the 17th, 2020. This is a letter from the Attorney General's office to Alex Vazella. And they mention that the resolution now this is the AG's office, says that the resolution from the Cypress District provides for the employment of special counsel, but they hereby approved it for only 1 year. So instead of 2023, only to 2021. In other words, we're giving you 1 year. As a matter of fact, it was actually basically a probationary period. Okay, and I'm going to show you here in a minute why citizen participation in this actually does matter. Okay, jump forward to this summer, June 23rd of 2021. Alex Vazella is basically trying to get extended permission to continue representing the Cypress District. Remember, they're a Caddo Parish law firm. All right. And so she's trying to get this for another year, and you can see that highlighted there. But again, notice right here in the second paragraph, she mentions again, avoid the inconvenience and expense of litigation. In other words, give us this time period or you're going to have to sue us to get out of here or show up the state troopers or something, who knows. And she requests AG approval for the retention of general counsel. All right. And she goes on through here. Look, there's actually some allegations here. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just want to show this allegation number, well, what do I got it listed here? Allegation number 1 was that the district had misrepresented, or the lawyers had misrepresented the AG's approval. Remember, they asked for like 3 years. The AG gave them 1 probationary year, but at that October the 13th meeting of the Cypress District, when Alex was presenting this, we have the video posted on Bossier Watch. As a matter of fact, I've got the times in here. You can go to the 4-minute mark and start watching there for the next 3 to 4 minutes. You can see Alex mention that the AG gave him permission, but she failed to mention it was a probationary period for 1 year as special counsel only. And so here, you can see in allegation number 1, she's trying to deny that that happened. So in other words, she's a weasel and a leech. Or a leech on a weasel, I don't know.
It's never just the first question. It's always about the second question. And I'm wondering if all these elected officials out there on the Cypress District, oh, wait a minute, elected officials, that's right. Nobody's elected out there. In fact, they're all appointed.
Appointed bureaucrats.
Everybody watching, if you have any interest in serving on a board, oh, by the way, guess what? You won't know that there's a vacancy until after the fact to consider throwing your name in the hat.
Right. And if we just back up in time, a lot of the beginnings of Bossier Watch was launched because of the shenanigans going on at the Cypress District. And our ability to call attention to some of that has, precipitated some of these other things that are going on and the information being sent to us about the police jury and the city council and all this other stuff. So anyway, so we want to circle back to this. So I'm actually going to kind of summarize my notes real quick. So basically, the AG only extended their ability to be special counsel until October the 15th, which was, 10 or 11 days ago. And so the challenge now is that, of course, the Ayers Law firm, and specifically Alex Vazella, they're pretty much saying, no, we're not getting out of there. We're going to continue to represent the Cypress District. And, they bill at the hourly rate of, $225 an hour for, senior partners, dropping down to like $60 an hour for the paralegals and law clerks and all that. So that cost a lot of money. And you basically can't talk to the district without talking to the lawyers first. I mean, they're present at every meeting. If you try to ask a question, they'll tell you, number one, you can't ask questions at the open meetings. And number two, they generally try to have the lawyers answer them.
But interestingly, they don't beat you down with a point of order. I mean,
no,
I can see why King David likes the Cypress District, because public comment is essentially null and void out there.
It is null and void. They've actually threatened and tried to have the sheriff's deputies throw people out of meetings for literally just asking questions. And so I'll even give the city council credit. They actually run their meetings a little better, granted, with the drama and entertainment from King David himself. But anyway, notice right here this last paragraph. Jeff Landry says, this is kind of important, folks. So Jeff Landry says, over the course of the year, we have received a series of complaints over open meetings law violations, reading right here where I'm highlighting, and other matters which give me pause. And he went on to say as well that they had received lots of complaints. His office had spoken to elected officials around here and other interested parties, and that's a good part of the reason why they have denied the Ayers Law firm official approval from the AG's office to continue. So the point is, folks, that by reaching out and filing complaints, which you're legally entitled to do, communicating with our government officials, even the AG's office, the ethics board, etc., you can absolutely make a difference. Now, of course, the challenge here is you got to pry the leeches off of the golden goose up there at the Cypress District, but that's a whole other situation that's going to be brewing. Okay, and so anyway, it goes on through this. I'm not going to bore everybody with the rest of this, but I just want you to know that the Cypress District is going to continue to use the Ayers Law firm. They're declaring they're not going anywhere. They're threatening litigation, and they're pretty good at it, and they'll be paid by all of our tax dollars no matter what. So
they'll be paid by our tax dollars for them to spend our tax dollars. Exactly. Or keep working for our tax dollars.
Yeah, and so what you need to do is the Cypress District board members are appointed by the town of Benton, the police jury, the city council, what else? The Red River
now, wait
District.
a minute. Benton Town Council and the
Right.
Bossier City Council both have
Correct.
appointees.
Yeah. And the police jury, so that's three. Who else? The school board has one, that's four. And then the uh, water commission deal, the Red River deal, they have one appointee. So that's a total of five appointees. So you need to reach out to your representatives from each of those government bodies and let them know that this is getting to the point of being ridiculous and something needs to be done. We did get a bill passed last year as well, HB 630, which is a good start into getting them under control, but that's a whole other can of worms to go down.
Boy, I don't know what to say about that one right there. So a lot of people may not know, hey, we've been talking about Bossier City and the bond program down there and what's going on with the LCDA and all that. Hey, Cypress District, they're on that program too. Can you believe?
Yeah, they are. That's how they got their $3 million bond, which was actually a loan, and I've got all the records of that, and we have those posted too. So, yeah, that's how I became familiar with the LCDA and the Bond Commission. I'd like to point out Shannon Thornhill Brown is watching, and she says we have a police juror race going on right now. Maybe one of those ladies would take a stand against this ongoing mess. So, absolutely correct. You need to reach out to those candidates. One of them is Juliana Parks, and who's the other one, Duke? We had her on the show.
Mindy Wardlow.
Mindy Wardlow. Yeah.
Mindy came on the show, and I think we asked her the question about that, didn't we? Or did we not?
Yeah, actually, we did, kind of what her position was, and I'll be paraphrasing a little bit, but she was aware of what was going on, and she said if she were elected, and I'm paraphrasing here, she would certainly look into it. Something to that effect. I'd have to go back and review the notes.
I know that a lot of people that are running for office watch our show, and they're kind of, wondering. I would challenge both of those candidates to chime in on the show and articulate your position right here for everybody watching right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple question. For the police jury, Robert Berry, the embattled executive director making well north of $100,000 a year out there and dual office holding, it's a simple question for the police jury candidates. Should he be replaced?
What is it with all of these police jury people, getting all these six-figure salaries? What is it?
I don't know. It's almost, well, we could spend all night on this, and I've ranted and raved about it, for episode after episode of our show.
Speaking of the police jury, hey, did you get to watch any of the police jury meeting last week?
I did not. I only got to watch bits and pieces of it. So give us, that moves us on to the next point anyway, about the police jury and some fracking business. What's going on here?
The Bossier Parish Police Jury ain't having none of this fracking noise, okay?
It's just so much fun to say.
They are not having none of it. Okay, so we had this meeting, right? And I sort of get this. And I get it. People want to sleep at night. And Mike Cummings, are you ready? Where you at, Mike Cummings? I told you we was going to talk about it and we was going to raise this issue. But so if you're in the oil and gas business, and you know a little bit about fracking, yeah, you might want to pay attention to this part. So I can't say that the police jury is completely 100% wrong here. If somebody's going to go put an oil well in the middle of a subdivision and you're going to have fracking, I mean, obviously, you know what? That's not a quiet operation, right?
Correct. And look, I do know that they did get some noise complaints, which is what kind of precipitated, the meeting and doing a noise bill or whatever. And, our good friend Barry Butler has said before that Bossier Parish has one of the most restrictive noise ordinances in the country, or something to that effect.
That's right. So the police jury, I'm guessing, had been getting a lot of complaints, about a fracking operation that was going on.
Right.
And they actually had a well that was going on. I really don't even know what part of the parish it was going on, but it was relatively close to some residential areas, and a lot of complaints were coming. Well, Patrick Jackson talks about in the video about how he was hands on. He personally saw that, the fracking company or the actually well operator was, they did spared no expense, did everything that they could do to try to meet the noise ordinance, to try to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just, it didn't matter how much money you would throw at it. There's just no way to get to where you need to be to be in compliance with the noise ordinance.
Right.
So they brought it to this meeting and said, "Hey, we got to do something about it. We got to address this, figure out some kind of point." And sure enough, they did.
No.
Um,
Drum roll, please.
they decided, yeah, they decided we're going to put a moratorium on fracking at night, when it's next to these subdivisions or next to these residential areas.
The oil field guys and all that need to go home and be with their families at night anyway, Duke. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, look, a frack operation is not a 12-hour a day job. That's not how this works. I mean, when you lease a rig, you've got a calendar of days and I mean, we're not talking small dollars. We're talking lots of dollars.
Right, lots and lots.
And there's a lot of things that a lot of these cats up here that's voting on this, I don't know that they're considering, or I don't know that they have considered. I would argue that the majority of our folks, nobody wants to be woke up in the middle of the night, but the last thing we're wanting to do is run off fracking operations to put mailbox money in everybody's mailboxes.
Right.
Do you want to drive more of it to Texas? I mean, good grief.
All right, so let's hit play, and we'll play through this, so just tell me when you're ready to stop. All right.
I'd say start at 48:20 mark.
48:20? Okay, let's see if
we'll jump ahead.
All right, let me get up there. 48:20. Yeah, we'll be a little shy of it, but we'll be close right here.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. President. I'd like to go ahead and we talked about it a good bit in our committee, and I'd like to offer a motion that we do.
Are you going to amend it?
Right. I was going to say, and the motion would say that we would have a 60-day moratorium on all frac operations between the hours of 10 and 7 within the 3,000 feet of a platted subdivision.
Wait a minute. That voice sounds familiar. Is that
Mr.
Tax? Is that Mr. Tax Increase Doug Rimmer himself, who is in favor of 23 cent a gallon gas taxes?
He never did that, Rex. You know that's not true. You're a cockroach for even thinking that.
I can hit play on the video right now. I keep that one sitting in the queue.
You know me. I mean, King Cockroach himself. This was his motion. Absolutely.
All right, so let me address a couple of comments real quick, okay? One, Ashley Lee Bullock says, how can we watch the police jury meetings? And then, of course, our good friend Barry Butler, who is a former police jury member, let her know, and so we'll share that out, of course, is that the police jury does have a Facebook page, and they do live broadcast the meetings. Now, their audio sucks, and usually does, and there's not too much we can do about that, but you can watch them live. Let's see, what other comment did we want to share here? Kaylee Larkin says, do your research on both candidates. One has a different flexing my freedom definition than the other. Yep, you want to definitely do your homework on both of those. And Barry says, how about 3,001 foot? Is that okay? Well, the ordinance reads 3,000, Barry. So you go an inch over, you should be good.
So moving forward here, it was a little bit of discussion, and you're wondering, well, was there anybody from the oil and gas industry present? Was there anybody there to speak? And I will point out there's a gentleman by the name of Robert Kyle. I think Robert Kyle, I'm pretty sure Robert is an attorney, and I don't know who he's working for or what interests he was representing, but he essentially was the only person that got up there and spoke, and he was just clarifying to make sure that they weren't making a permanent moratorium. And part of the reason why I think he was doing that, and I may be wrong, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, was because the way some of the folks were talking up there, it was almost as if they may have wanted to go a little bit further.
Oh, well, let's hit play.
Just wanted to make sure it wasn't permanent.
No. It's not intended to be permanent.
That's Patrick
some,
Jackson,
Some
the parish attorney.
cities like Fort Worth and others have just said no fracking at night, and we would love to figure out a way that. I think, Robert, maybe I could get with you offline, but the operator in South Bossier literally tried everything, spared no expense, and they just couldn't make it happen. Atheon. I mean, great guys. They worked hard, but they just couldn't make it happen.
Okay,
So if there's no way to make it happen, the solution is to just completely shut them down. I'm not saying Patrick was saying that, because it wasn't, but if there's no way to make a sound ordinance work and you still have complaints, what does everybody watching think? I mean, is that where we're going to go? Is we're just going to shut down and we're going to take the path of, some liberal places, and we're just going to shut it down? No more fracking, no more mailbox money.
Well, and I guess the other question is, of course, we didn't request this, and I have not watched the whole meeting. Maybe they discussed it, or maybe you or maybe Barry Butler, if he watched it, knows. Did they actually discuss how many complaints they had? I mean, did they have like hundreds and hundreds of complaints, or was this like 2 or 3 pissed off people?
I don't think it was hundreds of complaints, but I will say this: my police juror, Philip Rogers, asks a really good question. Philip, he asked a very important question, because they're fixing to take an action, and maybe we need to ask that second question, like what I was talking about a while ago. So 5235, Mark.
All right, let's see what Philip has to say.
And if there are, we will work with them.
So that's Patrick.
But we're not aware of any right now that this will impact that's currently drilling.
So I don't know of any that fit this criteria. There are other frac operations going throughout the parish, which is why we didn't do it parish wide. But it's because they're in rural area where there's nobody around.
They have to sleep too.
Well, I mean, but there's like,
you hear that?
Hey, Rimmer and I were thinking alike. I wonder how I knew somebody was going to mention about sleeping. All right.
Even if it's out in the rural parish where nobody's around, Rimmer cites that they got to sleep too. Now,
yeah, where they're not even going to hear it.
They need to sleep where they're not even going to hear it too.
Look, and you've heard me gripe about it every now and then on the show, because I have B-52s that fly over the top of the house. I can almost see the color of the pilot's eyes sometimes in the afternoon. That's how low to the deck, or whatever you call the lower limit. Barry, you can correct me. That's how low they're flying sometimes over my house. And it gets aggravating, but you know what? I've gotten used to it, and I like having the Air Force base down there, and we fully support the military, hoorah, so, whatever. So,
which police juryman do you think stands up and says, wait a minute, we don't need this across the parish?
There's no telling, but let's...
But somebody, to his credit, jumps up there and says, hold up, says, we don't need this across the parish.
All right, so let me get queued up to that. Well, I think I can just hit play right here, and we'll probably ought to get this. So probably should be stage left we need to be paying attention to.
Miles of some of these wells.
So,
Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, I don't think it should be parish wide right now.
And so where I was heading with this was it would, like Patrick said, we will work with those, and there are some that I'm reviewing right now and they meet our regulations, but they don't fall in this criteria. So
let's try not to shut people down.
Well, so Atheon finished yesterday. Yeah. Okay, so this should be enough time for us to get our stuff together and get something back to you, so that it doesn't impact anything that's on the drawing board, because we definitely want oil and gas here. We do not want to run them off.
Thank you, Patrick.
But people got to sleep too, and that's the balance we're trying to figure out.
I'm going to pause it right there, because Ashley Lee Bullock has a good comment. She says, can I complain about the train coming through all hours of the night and they will stop the trains? I used to live in the trailer park down there in South Bossier by the skating rink. And we lived 50 yards from those train tracks right there. We got used to it too, because as the city council has learned, you're pretty much going to do what the railroad tells you you're going to do around the railroad. Okay, and so I guess we missed Philip's deal on the time, and so
Yeah, but and he basically
no-
was just asking.
yeah,
he
no
was trying
slight
make
to
the
Philip
point-
this episode. So
Yeah, he was trying to make the point of he was wanting to make sure were we going to, if we took this action, were we going to affect any other frackers out there? That was what, and Patrick acknowledged he didn't think that we were, but he didn't. What he didn't know, and the Hudson there jumped up there and said, wait a minute, we do have some other operations that are this would affect out in the parish, but they don't fall within these distances, and it wouldn't necessarily affect. Well, then Rimmer jumps up there, and Rimmer seems to be indicating that, well, you know what, people out in the parish need to be able to sleep too. So maybe Rimmer's thinking that maybe we need to extend this thing across the whole parish. Seems to me he may have something against the oil and gas industry and maybe even fracking. And maybe I'm just making that up, but at the 53:45 mark, Rimmer's not done.
well, let's listen and see.
But in the suburban areas with subdivisions, we would like them not to do their fracking except during the day, and for the 60 days until we figure out where we go from there.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Hudson?
No, sir.
All right, so Mr. 23 cent a gallon gas tax. I got to play this video. We hadn't played it in like 6 months. Folks, bear with me. Doug Rimmer, who is definitely against fracking, at least having a moratorium on it at night. This is Doug from a couple of years ago. I hope I still got this thing queued up. Hold on, let's see. I got to locate the file. Dang it.
That's okay.
Oh, well. I'll do it another show. But anyway, he advocated for 23 cent a gallon gas tax, and now he's advocating for stopping the fracking operations at night.
And then upon being appointed or not appointed or nominated to run to be the chairman of the Republican Party of Bossier Parish, he gets up there in his speech and says, I never proposed or supported any increase in the gas tax. He denied it. He said that wasn't true.
Yeah, we'll have to pull that
Audio as well. But then all of a sudden, here you go. He had. Well, anyway, we're not playing it.
Well, and look, so, full disclosure here, my dad's worked off and on for Halliburton for, 40 years. My younger brother worked for Halliburton up until a few years ago when the, gas and oil economy took a downturn again. But they're still basically in the oil and gas industry. I got lots of friends in the oil and gas industry, so I tend to lean towards the oil and gas industry. But apparently somebody's complaining about the noise, or else this is just a solution in search of a problem.
Now, obviously, Rimmer has a slant towards the oil and gas industry. I mean, he doesn't want any fracking during the days. I mean, he wanted, increased gas tax, which would have adversely affected things, I think. Where's Loga? Where's Lamoga? I'm just wondering. Raymond Cruz is the one that put him up to take over the Republican Party of Bossier.
Yeah.
Loga, Lamoga. Maybe y'all should talk to Cruz about who and his entourage picks to promote conservatism and promote pro-business oil and gas jobs in Bossier Parish. Maybe y'all need to have a talk.
Maybe so, but I still, any of the complaints would be public record once they're sent in to the police jury. Maybe we need to do an information request and get a copy of those complaints. I really want to see how many there are. Because if we're letting a small minority rule again against the majority, and maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the majority of the folks around Bossier Parish don't want to hear the wells running and all that sort of thing and the equipment. I don't know.
Yeah, well, if Fort Worth is the model that we're trying to become, I don't know that that's a good example.
Yeah, that's true. Barry Butler says the complaint is a 92 decibel inside a home near the well site. Okay, folks. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through some more comments. What do we have coming up on the agenda now? Oh, David Jones mentioned the B-52 noise as well. He said it sounds like 3 auto plants. Yeah, pretty much.
To infinity and beyond. So is it time?
I suppose it is time to go down this particular rabbit hole. So let me check off that we have talked about the Bossier Parish Police Jury. I'm trying to keep everybody kind of, on track of where we are in the show, because some people like to come in at certain times of the show and all that. So I've got this bullet point here, and I left the clowns up there because it's nothing short of a circus down there these days, the King David Circus. But I pose this question, Duke, and so, let me get a little feedback maybe from you as well. Did the city council basically lie yesterday, Thursday through yesterday's special meeting? I mean, they had this special meeting, they called it in a hurry, and then it was like crickets.
Well, I'm just wondering. We all saw the announcement of the meeting, and it was kind of put out there that that contractor, NTB, basically dropped the ball. That they screwed up. I mean, so how is it that all of a sudden now we're going to have a council meeting, a special meeting, no doubt, that was called specifically to have an ordinance to end the relationship with NTB and cease all payments for work that they've done up to this point? Was that not true?
I don't know. I mean, again, as we pointed out last night, King David made the motion to just simply delete it from the agenda, and like nobody questioned. Oh, okay, yeah. That's basically the whole reason we were here, the majority of the reason. We'll just delete it, and nobody's going to say a darn thing. Not even Chris Smith asked anything.
That was perplexing on why Chris Smith didn't say anything. You would think Chris Smith would actually say something.
It was a little, maybe it caught him off guard. I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for now, because he's been doing such a spectacular job. But Chris, dude, when stuff like that happens, you need to ask questions. Do something to run the blood pressure up in the room just a tad. Be professional about it, but ask some questions. All right, so I'm pulling up on the screen, so hopefully this doesn't crash the software because it's fairly high-res map and PDF here. What are we looking at, or where are we headed now with this part of the show? Am I getting off track here, or which way did you want to go?
Well, maybe a little bit. You can scroll through those plans there that we have, but the one thing that I do on any one of those plans, if you will focus in and zoom in the kind of the far right side of the right there about the middle. You see that stamp right there in the middle? Scroll over and keep scrolling to the right. All the way right there on the right. That stamp right there. It says State of Louisiana.
All right, let me zoom this up a little bit, so bear with me here just a second. I got to kind of do multi-clicking and all that. Here we go.
Now you see that right there? Everybody watching, I want you to look at that date.
Ah, yeah.
That was quite a while ago. And so we were sent all these plans. You can zoom back out. That's dated January the 8th, 2021.
Right.
And what we were told was the plans that we've been sent here, these were the final plans for the Part 2 of the Walter O. Bigby carriageway, or the not the Link Coleman.
Not the Link Coleman. Although it will eventually, if you wind around down the roads, link to the sidewalk to nowhere, but
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe we should rename it the Link Coleman Parkway, and we're probably fixing to have this phase 2 up here, the NTB Parkway. Mm-hmm. Right? Maybe we're going to have to call it the NTB Parkway.
Well, yeah, if they decide to file suit against the city for, let's see, would it be slander, or slander is spoken, libel is written, and I'm pretty sure a little of both happened. But, if they're making a couple of million or whatever it is for the contract for this, maybe they'll, since King David was nice and deleted that from the agenda, which, by the way, I've kind of got a little working theory on that too. We might need to discuss here in a little while as to why. But anyway, so back to these plans.
I'm betting that has something to do with Man Shack. But anyway, so I would say scroll to the one with the roundabout.
Okay.
That would be the one that I think probably we're interested in talking about.
All right, let's see. That's page 2, and that's got the railroad crossing at Shed. Hey, that looks like a roundabout.
That looks like the roundabout. Now, you and I were kind of looking over these plans, and on the right-hand side there, we think that that is a line that it adjoins from that line to the railroad track in question. Approximately, we had estimated, if we read it correctly, we had estimated that was going to be about 60-something feet, right, to the railroad track?
Yeah, I believe so.
So these plans have been in motion. We showed all the videos at the council meetings from Manchac talking about Union Pacific, that they had the plans. These were the final plans. And interestingly as well, too, if you scroll back to the right again, and on the bottom to the right,
that way.
I guess that'd be the other way.
Okay.
I guess that's
there we go. Yeah, we're looking for a little stamp, aren't we?
Yeah, keep going down. Now, see right there in the very bottom right corner of these plans?
Yeah, let me get back over there to it. Bear with me. There we go. NTB Associates, Inc.
Look at there.
And TRC.
And TRC. Now, TRC is said to be the premier bridge building company around. They're supposed to be like, they've got their stuff together. They ain't no. I'm wondering, how did we get to this point to where everything is done, but the only thing that's not done, and I'm just repeating what I said the other night, the very last thing that's done is getting permission or a permit from the railroad.
Yeah, like the last hurdle, or arguably maybe the first hurdle, you got to cross the railroad tracks.
We had plans.
Yeah, they had plans to cross railroad tracks twice.
We had plans in January, and obviously it was no secret of what we wanted to do. Maybe the railroad may have changed a little bit, maybe have not changed a little bit, but it couldn't have been much. And then now all of a sudden, after we get all the property acquisitions, and ironically, we did make a mistake in a comment that we made the other night, or I made it, I think. So I'll correct the comment if you want me to. It wasn't a big one.
Yeah.
I don't remember in what context I said, but we were showing how Gordon Mosley, the former assistant attorney for the city, was talking about acquiring properties. They only had a few properties left to acquire. And we were talking about how David Montgomery was like, okay, well, once we seize these properties and we put the money in the account, are we good to go? Are we good to go?
Yeah, he just seemed to be like in a hurry.
He was ready to roll with it.
Right.
And we talked about a couple of the properties, and in the video, he mentioned one of the properties as Charles Smith. Well, I erroneously pointed out that I thought that might be the lawyer, Judge Charles Smith. Well, I'm told that's incorrect.
Okay.
But it's even more interesting as who I'm told that actual Charles Smith actually is.
Oh, and which Charles Smith would that be?
It happens to be a Charles Smith who had some property at a development in the past that the city of Bossier is said to have taken property from.
Oh, really?
Down there on the riverfront.
Oh, over there around the boardwalk.
That's right. That's right. Which,
and I don't want to say too much right now, but we've heard some other, if proven true, some very interesting, to say the least, and very inflammatory, explosive information about that. Again, if it's true and if the lawsuit ever actually gets filed.
yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs on that, but I find it ironic, and I could only imagine how the negotiations went with the city on getting that property.
Yeah, we took your other property, and now we want to take this property too, even though we don't have permission from the railroad.
Yeah.
How do they have these conversations? It's crazy.
I couldn't.
All right, so moving forward, I want to put a comment up here from Kayla Larkin. She says, "Are these roundabouts to scale, or are they going to be a little bigger?" Well, that's a very interesting question and a great question, Kaylee, because Duke, that kind of plays right into one of the things that we were discussing with this particular little roundabout.
Yeah, so if you come through Bossier, and especially if you come up and down Benton Road, you know what hell it is with the traffic these days, right?
Right.
Between the intersections backed up from one intersection to the other, and whoa, wait a minute. You see David Jones' post there?
Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Where do I know that name, Curtis Shelton? Oh, he's the one that was going to throw people out of the Cypress District meeting. It is funny how these same names keep popping up. Thank you for reminding us of that, David.
What a small world.
Yeah, and it might end up in more litigation. But again, we'll see. That's just rumor has it.
Yeah, so anyway, this intersection and the roundabout. So one of the larger employees in Bossier being McElroy Metal back there, and with having Shed Road right there at the railroad tracks closed down temporarily, is forcing a lot of trucks and a lot of traffic, down on Benton Road, down to East Texas, and back around to Hamilton and come through. And if this is one of these small roundabouts, if you've ever drove a semi-truck pulling a 40-foot or longer trailer, I mean, I wonder how much of the truck and trailer actually stays in the round part as you're going through these roundabouts.
Well, yeah, we were talking about that. They put one on the, I guess it would be the south side of Homer, coming up between Minden and Homer, right there on Highway 79. And I've been through there a couple of times when 18-wheelers are coming around, and it's a pretty big roundabout. Now, I'm not sure how big it is compared to the scale and size and diameter of all that of this particular one. I do know that the trucks are able to go around there, but I've been there when, their rear axles back on the trailer are definitely up on the roundy part. And it's only a single lane. So I can only imagine how much, and I'm saying this kind of sarcastically, how much fun truck drivers are going to have going in and out of McElroy Metals, because they haul some pretty long stuff sometimes, and trying to negotiate the roundabout.
That's right. And I'm no engineer and I'm no builder. We got plenty of those on the show, but I got to tell you, I think that roundabout is a single lane roundabout, and there ain't no freaking way no truck's going to go through those roundabouts without their rear axles dragging over the corners, or even them having to put their front steer axles, out on the edge of these little islands to be able to traverse these roundabouts. So what rocket scientists decided that we're going to put two roundabouts in here, or wait a minute, what was the term we used? Not galactically challenged. Oh, roundabout morons. What roundabout morons decided that you're going to force one of the larger employers that has truck traffic coming in and out to have to drive through these things? So were they going to did they have plans to try to ding them down the road as the trucks are tearing up all of these roundabouts?
I don't know, and I swear in one of the meetings somewhere I heard them talking about removing the roundabouts and going to the regular intersection type scenario. And I know because they said it was because it was more economically feasible or something to that effect. So if anybody remembers that meeting, or remembers, have they done a resolution to pull the roundabouts out, let me know. I'm not opposed to roundabouts, but that's going to be a real problem for McElroy Metals. And I'm sure, any of the other businesses down there that have 18-wheelers or trucks coming in and out.
Yeah, so you already see how bad the traffic is on Benton Road, right? All these questions about this project, it raises a wider question. What's the point here? Why are we doing this? Is this actually a good deal? And oh, by the way, everybody that comes up and down Benton Road, you see how horrible the traffic is. But, oh, wait a minute, we're going to put another red light in the middle of all this traffic to slow it down even more.
to slow it down even more. And, you know, my argument is, let me see if I can get this traffic study deal back up here. There we go. So that's the basic layout of it. Just to refresh everybody very, very quickly, this is obviously the river up here. This is McElroy Metals right there. This is Benton Road over here where I'm wiggling the little crosshairs around. This is Hamilton Road right here. And so this is the carriageway. You know, they're going to have to build here, go over the top of the tracks here. Here's where the roundabouts are going to be. I believe this roundabout over here in the upper left of the screen of the picture is actually, yeah, it's already there and finished. So my question is, and the reason for putting this up here is because Julie Ferris put a comment, says as a South Bossier resident, I will say that a north-south route is 20 minutes if she hits green lights, 45 plus if she catches lights, over an hour and a half if there's a train. So Julie, as a South Bossier resident, if you're traveling to North Bossier to go visit the Yankees up in the north up there, do you think that this carriageway will give you relatively unfettered access to get from south to north and then back to the south? What are your thoughts on that? I don't see, unless we solve the problem on Benton Road, how this is going to cut much time off of it, but maybe it will.
Well, I'm just wondering, since we're going to, why don't we save everybody a little bit of time? Let's not put another red light on Benton Road. Why don't we not put a bridge right there and another red light on Benton Road? Why don't you use the crossing at Shed Road and put a bridge right there and use Shed Road, and you've got a west-east passage. That was part of the plan. I think that goes back all the way to the Donnie Jones era.
Maybe so. Ann Price says maybe the $150,000 traffic study should have been done first. Who knows with those jokers. Barry Butler says divert traffic away from Benton Road. Yes, divert all the traffic we can away from Benton, but right now there's nowhere else really to put it. So, yeah, folks, we want to hear from y'all. I mean, because we've got our opinions on it. Duke, you've got a business located over close to where all this is happening. I mean, do you think this is going to help the traffic? I know pulling out of you're in Karis parking lot right there sometimes is a challenge.
It's almost impossible. You know, by the grace of some courteous people, they actually let us in sometimes. But I don't see this relieving a lot of traffic. I don't see it doing any of that.
So, all right. So we could sit here and play traffic engineers on Facebook all day long, but let's circle back to how this relates politically to the city council and the whole little bit of drama that played out Thursday, Friday, and yesterday.
Well, I think how it all plays out and what it all boils down to is putting the cart before the horse. We're going to acquire all of this property. We're going to start turning dirt and spending money before we even know that we can do a project. We don't even know that we can put a bridge over that railroad track. We're going to wait and make that determination last.
Yeah, because according to the railroad, they own it over the tracks to infinity and beyond. According to the tale yesterday, not quite so much.
And not one person, not two people, but countless people, including Jimmy Hall, raised the awareness that, hey, if you don't have UOP or UP, you're dead in the water. If you don't have that. But yet, for some reason, we pushed forward all the way with spending all this money.
Yeah, and David Jones points out right now, let me get these things out of the way so we can put a comment up here. Says, with a 2017 warning, Julie Ferris says, who benefited from property sales prior to railroad blessing? That always got to follow the money.
I think Julie is suggesting that maybe the money was in, maybe the reason is in the property purchases or acquisitions, people making money off of that. Maybe that's what she's suggesting.
Maybe it was off of some, and we've heard another interesting point that there may have been another contractor and maybe some insurance or surety bonds involved. I don't know. There's all kinds of things swirling around. I've got another theory, too, is that and I had thought about this, basically yesterday when King David made his motion, was that they were trying to set Tommy up, which arguably would not be difficult to do.
Well, expand on that. What do you mean he was trying to set Tommy up?
Well, all right, so correct me if I'm wrong based on the information that we know about and has been sent to us, but it was Tommy and was it Amanda that was with him maybe? Then they had a meeting and figured out, hey, there's an issue going on with the trains. I mean, we all know they already knew about it.
Yeah, so that was Thursday morning. You had Tommy, Amanda, Jacobs, and Manchac, Ben Rauschenberger,
Yes.
Manchac.
Had a meeting.
At a meeting, as the story goes, Ben was bringing them up to speed on the problem with the project and why they were dead in the water.
Right. And the reason was because of the railroad company, correct?
Well, no. It had to be NTB because by that afternoon, they're putting together emails and stuff about trying to fire NTB.
Okay, so
Cease and desist, remember?
let me try to say this without being super snarky. Okay, so they have a meeting. They decide to throw NTB or try to drag, let me rephrase that. They try to drag NTB under the bus or under the train, as the case may be.
Well, no, this is Bossier. We don't do trains, we do Zambonis. So they're trying to throw NTB under the Zamboni.
Yeah, it's the Zamboni being brought down on
I had
the
to
freight
correct
train.
you.
Yeah,
Go
okay.
ahead.
All right. And so they decide to do a press release and get everybody in an uproar. And they hold a special meeting. And they're literally, I mean, it was in their agenda, they're going to fire NTB. And the bill or ordinance or whatever was sponsored by or whatever Charles Jacobs. But we know it originated from Tommy and Amanda and Ben's meeting together, correct?
Well, we think.
Okay.
We think. I don't know that I'd say it was. We don't know who else was in that meeting. I mean, it may have been the council was in that meeting too.
Well, it could have been. They love to do walking quorums anyway, so that wouldn't stop them. I'm surprised they didn't actually have the meeting there and then just decide to do Monday's meeting for show. But either way, it sounds to me like somebody might have been stirring the pot because mysteriously Monday, King David does a motion to remove the agenda item. Nobody discusses it. And presto, it's gone. And everything's right in the world. And magically, the railroad has said, oh yeah, we'll let you build the overpass down on the end of it. But y'all got to shut down Shed Road.
David Jones, I'm just going to jump on out here and personally tell you, I'm going to tell the city of Bossier what they need to do with that strip center here in just a moment. And the Acadiana mortgage moving into it ain't got nothing to do with it. I've got a plan.
Yeah. First there was a plan. We
So-
gotta go through that. But anyway, and so it just seems to me like somebody may have been trying to set Chandler up, and arguably, as much as Chandler falls for King David's shenanigans, that's not a big stretch and wouldn't be difficult to do.
Well, look, David, he is a great politician. I'm going to give him credit.
He is.
He is a great politician.
He's got
Chandler,
some good people behind him advising him.
Yes, that's right. And Chandler, boy, I got to tell you, I don't know. I mean, I ain't seen him really. I don't know that he's won one yet.
By my account, he hasn't won anything.
Yeah, I don't see that he's won any of these fights. So what you're saying is that you're thinking that maybe this was a setup deal too. So if we're going to get it all over us, why would the council sit over here and why are we just going to take it ourselves? Well, why don't we bring Chandler in the mix and get some of it on him? Let's all get it together. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I mean, it just makes sense. They've already smacked him around in pretty much every meeting he's attended. He finally decided to take a vacation to Vegas and not be at a meeting. I don't blame him. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. But, of course, we made fun of him. Now he's back in the meetings and all that sort of thing.
Well, him, the fire chief, civil service board members, big part. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, it just stands to reason that this was an easy way to smack the mayor around again. And, go back to King David's point that, the council runs this city, not the mayor.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sometimes forget that. But so, well, if that were true, then that would mean that the Man Shack guy, this Ben Rauschenberger, went in there knowing that he was going in there to plant a seed with the mayor and get the mayor and the city attorney, who hadn't been down there during all this, all ginned up to run out there and maybe throw NTB under the bus.
What's the name of the company that Rauschenberger works for?
Oh, Man Shack. Man Shack.
What's the name of the company that Tommy Chandler ran on basically getting rid of?
Man Shack?
Sounds like Man Shack. I mean, look, that would mean that there's a conspiracy going on, and I'm not saying that. And from what everybody said, Ben's a great guy, so I'm not trying to put him in the middle of a conspiracy with King David.
Well, I've got one. A little different than yours. I
Okay.
mean, you may be right. You may be right.
I'm probably way off base. What's your theory?
You may be right, but I'm going to go a whole lot simpler than that.
Okay.
As we know, NTB didn't exactly take kindly to their being thrown under the Zamboni, right? So they shot off their own letter.
Right.
And in fact, had their attorneys in tow for this special meeting. I'm wondering, I'm wondering if, in his letter, he put in there that the responsibility ended up falling on, what was the name of that company again?
Sounds like Man Shack.
Yeah, that was actually who was responsible in the first place. So I'm wondering, maybe Ben going in there and meeting with all them and selling them on the fact that it was NTB, maybe it was a poor attempt to shift the blame? Or was it a poor attempt?
I mean, we've already proven they've known about it for years. We have more emails coming in that will show in digital black and white that, of course, they knew about all this. Surely they wouldn't try to shift the blame when somebody just forgot about getting the approval from the railroad. And let me put up Kaylee Larkin's comment right here. She says,
but wouldn't that be easily provable?
Well, it should be, yes. So Kaylee
or was
says,
that knee jerk?
Yeah, it could be knee-jerk. But and let me do this before it disappears. She said, but I thought Tommy was for the people and not the boys club. Well, Kaylee, you got it right. You used the word was, as in past tense.
Is she talking about the YMCA, the boys club? Is that what she's talking about?
I'm going to have
she's talking about the Gob Network. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Brain fart. I was...
Yeah, not the Village People Club.
Yeah, okay. Different club. Got that. So... Anyway,
all right.
I think maybe Man Shack maybe uncovering for herself. I don't know. I like to believe your theory a little bit better because it makes pretty good sense. But then, basic human nature. I mean, Ben and Man Shack trying to shift the blame, see if it would fly. What do they have to lose?
Yeah, because ultimately the blame lies right at their feet because they're the engineers for the city and they're in charge of the contractors. And I guess one step above them, the city council should have, definitely has some blame going on there because, well, they're the ones that put Man Shack in charge, and then they hired the contractors, and all of them failed to get permission from the railroad. And we have it on pretty good authority that it lays it out in the contract. Right? Who's supposed to get permission?
But you gotta remember, as the Don pointed out, and we showed the video last night. This was a great example of a public-private partnership, and what you can achieve. Right?
Oh, yeah.
All those savings. Now you're fixing to get sued for disparaging a company who did nothing wrong.
Well, it goes back to, and I've mentioned this before, the movie Tremors and the famous quote from Burt Gummer, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but basically all government people do is take something that should be really simple and make it as complicated as possible.
So, you remember a while back, Rex? Remember the show and the council meeting, We Don't Shop?
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah, we don't shop around.
We don't shop. I think, I don't know, maybe you can pull that clip up real quick, take a walk down memory lane.
All right, is that give me a second, is that the YouTube link right there?
Yeah, I
in
just
the- in the-
threw that in there.
All right, yeah, I can pull that up. Just give me a second. Let me get over here to the notes and get organized. So ramble on for a minute. Let me get this ready.
So a lot of people, I know. I mean, it was infamous. It's kind of like the Zamboni thing. I mean, and that one's going to live forever. But you had a council meeting not too long ago, and they were talking about uh, refinancing bonds and a new bond of $75 million. And you had one councilman, Chris Smith, who took the liberty to ask a simple question about, why don't we bid this out? Why don't we see what kind of deals we can get? Why don't we see what, we can shop things around and maybe, get a better rate or a better price. I mean, when people get a home loan, they get multiple quotes. I mean, they might ought to shop more than they do these days, but people do it. Same thing, car loan, or
Right.
when you go to buy a car, you shop around for the car you want, but you shop around for the best price you can get with the amenities that you like.
Yeah.
You look, but Chris was shut down. Like, I'm talking about, he hardly got it out of his mouth, and he shut down on that deal.
Yeah, so that's the one
We
that's at
don't shop.
that's the one that's at the 26:15 time mark, right? That's what we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me get there. We're a few seconds ahead of that. Let's see. Here we go.
Ashley Bullock. Are you kidding? Who could forget it? It's on the side of the city, Bossier City Zamboni fleet.
The Zamboni fleet. That's funny.
Broken Link?
Yeah, it wasn't at the 26:50. Here we go. Okay. So this is a little bit of review, folks. Oh, crap. Hold on.
A lot
Yeah.
of radio silence here.
Yeah, hold on just a second. Let me get this over here. All right, let me get this adjusted. And let me get this adjusted. It might help if I actually show you all the screen, wouldn't it? Let me get some of this adjusted out of the way. So hold on, folks. Technical little intermission here for about 30 seconds. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go. Let's see. We got system audio.
It's gone through
All right.
LCDA. Is that a requirement for doing these refunding bonds?
What do you mean we haven't?
So it based on other ordinances from in the past where I read, it looked like we went through another third party to do these refunding bonds. I'm just curious, and it looks like at some point we switched and have gone through the direction where we're going now.
Yeah, I don't have an idea what time frame you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, we've.
So I guess
LCDA I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
LCDA is a branch of the government established. I believe it's a nonprofit, but
Right.
And
Hint, they're not a
utilize
branch.
them to get better placement of our bonds in the market.
Okay. Yeah. So that would.
Governmental consultants, which is Sean Toops and Charlie Sides with Steve.
You know, and just to kind of rehash it, he sure does rattle off those names very quickly.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
You did. I'm sorry.
Oh. Anyway, and Kent Schnecksnyder with Sisong, we used them as our underwriters and municipal advisors to
Right.
tell us the best way to go about marketing these, and in this case, refunding as well.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess my question really, I guess, boils down to, have we maybe shopped and,
No, we don't shop.
We don't shop.
This is
Whoa.
a professional service.
Right.
We don't
Believe in
shop.
These people, they've been with us, I believe, going back with the previous council to
So-
07.
Y'all heard it
We don't
right
shop.
there. We don't shop. We don't shop.
Yeah,
Now,
that's important.
yeah, it's absolutely important. So here's the deal. when we were doing all of our research for last night's show, we came across an interesting bit of dialogue regarding, some money. It wasn't a lot of money. I mean, it was just, I think, $8 million maybe.
That's
but
all.
yeah, and we're going to have to jump down in the notes here. I don't remember that on that March 17th, 2020 council meeting.
Okay.
I can't recall. I think I shared that in the notes. And if you go to I think it's the 4431 mark.
Okay, so give me a second here. 4431 mark. All right, so I need to go over here to.
I've got two times in the notes, 1940 and the 4431.
All right, give me just a second here. Let me close that out of the way. And let's change this over. Okay, so here's another view of our wonderful city council back on March the 17th. Okay, what's the time? 44?
Try the 1940 at first, because I'm not sure on these two timestamps that I have.
Okay, and folks, so we're talking about shopping here. All right, what, 1940?
Yeah, I don't remember the
All right.
significance, but go ahead.
Do we have a glitch? Shouldn't, but I'll refresh it and see.
Do we have a glitch?
Okay.
So that's probably not it.
Yeah, go to 4431.
All right. Well, let's move on up here. 4431. Somewhere, it will be just before it right there. Here we go.
Any other questions? Council, please cast your vote. Which, I do, I was just reading that.
King
I do
David.
have a question, and this is relative to something that we've discussed, especially given the circumstances that we're all adjusting to live within. This $8 million loan closing has been potentially delayed, what, a month or two? At least. There's no telling how, we've already been delayed, I think, a couple of times. I mean, we've been counting on this money since last year. I would certainly, given the rates that exist today in the marketplace for bonding, I would like to entertain the idea of going to the market and how long that would take.
Wait a minute.
Rather than going through DHH, because again, I don't know I don't have a crystal ball as to when the state's gonna go back to work and when they're gonna address this. And if we can
Now,
certainly
Did he just say something about going back to the market?
He just said something about going back to the market.
unless
Now,
someone else can
granted, we're talking about different types of bonds,
as to why we would
but
But he just advocated for shopping them around.
he just advocated for shopping a bond around.
And folks, that's the March 17th city council meeting around the 44 and some odd minute mark.
13 or 13.
So what changed his mind in the course of a year and a couple of months?
Now, he would argue.
Did he all of a sudden get frugal and we just don't shop anymore? Well, I guess that would
Well-
be the opposite of being frugal.
There was a time that they shopped, apparently March 17, 2020. And I think he would argue that, okay, we're not talking about the same bonds, but that we don't shop. Apparently, you do shop.
Poor King David, he's so confused. Maybe the crown bumped his head good or something.
So, I don't know. That jumped
I
out
don't
at
even
me.
I don't even know what to say except to just sit here and keep making fun of King David, and that's getting a little easy. Let me put a couple of comments up. Your wife says, if there is a bond default, can you shop? Let's see. Mike Cummings Jr., we support, endorse, and practice nepotism each chance we get. And one more. And if Ashley Lee Bullock runs for office, she's going to have a campaign slogan of elect Ashley Lee Bullock, City Council at Large for Bossier City, where we don't shop, except when we shop.
So here we are today, you just heard a couple of meetings ago regarding these bond renewals and a $75 million new bond. And you heard King David say, we don't shop. We're not even going to shop or consider the possibility of us getting a better rate or a better deal anywhere else. Chris Smith, I think, even pointed out, maybe at that next meeting, pointed out, what the legislative auditor's office had a report about the savings that, governmental entities have seen by shopping, I guess you could say, but more importantly, let's go back and let's talk again. And this is what all of you watching need to understand about these refinances that they're going to do, as well as this new bond of $75 million. So the refinances, do you all know that those are going to come to term and be done with in about 3 years?
So you're saying that they're almost paid off?
They're almost paid off, and they would roll off, but we're going to refinance those for 20 more years, 20 years. Now, if you buy a car and you're going to have it paid off in 3 years, are you going to go refinance it for 20 years? Why would you do that?
Well, surely they must have some project coming down the pipe that they're going to need the money for.
Now, wait a minute. You got to be careful here. We're talking about two different things. I think the project coming down the pipe, or projects that you're wanting to focus on, is probably in the $75 million. But the three that are going to run off, there may be a just cause to have those. I'm not saying that there's not, but the fact that those are going to be done in 3 years, and you're going to redo them for 20 years. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
That is a good question, and as Barry Butler points out, we don't even get to vote on those bonds. So
bam, he just hit it. That's the why. Here's the thing. So all of you out there watching, if you're wondering why these things get refinanced and keep going like that, because you can refinance them, but if you let them roll off, guess what that means? That means you've got to go back to the voters and say what you're going to do it for, and you have to get voter approval.
Hold on a minute, though. When did we vote on these current ones?
That's a good question. I would have to go and look at them. I really don't know. But
Barry,
my point
do you remember, Barry, watching right now, do you remember if we voted on these current bonds? Does anybody else? Honestly, I hadn't looked it up yet.
Well,
but I know,
it may not.
I know with the LCDA, that's one of the reasons some government entities use the LDA, because it skirts around the ballot.
Now, the $75 million. So, do you know what we have it on good authority that one of the projects is for?
Are you going to make me break out into song with the village people, because you don't want to hear me sing at all?
If I don't care. I mean, we can roll the dice on getting zucked or getting copyright infringement or whatever. I love it.
Well, Ashley kind of spilled the beans. She says, I feel a round of YMCA coming soon. Let's see. David Jones says, depends on the revenue source and if it was voted in perpetuity.
Now, what I got to ask, we got 63 people live watching right now just on this channel. I'm wondering, how many of you all think that we need a YMCA? And if you had the ability to put a YMCA up there in North Bossier, in between Christ Fit Gym and Willis Knighton Gym and 24-hour fitness gym, Adrenaline, all these different gyms, how many of y'all think that is an appropriate expenditure of your taxpayer dollars?
I especially don't when you can look right across the river and see another brand spanking new one sitting right across the river. Granted, that's a little more dangerous going across the river, but
No, I mean, correct me. I think we talked about this a little bit. The YMCA is a nonprofit, isn't it?
I believe so. And Barry Butler just asked, why isn't the YMCA paying their own way? Why don't we get an oil? Oh, I know. Well, we might could get a fracking company, except the police jury's trying to piss off all the oil companies.
So, here's my question: Why would these councilmen be wanting to spend $30 million of your money to put in a gym in North Bossier to compete with all of the private business that already have gyms scurried across North Bossier? Why would they be so hell bent on spending your tax dollars and doing that? Why would Tommy Chandler want to do this? The conservative Republican Tommy Chandler and his conservative advisors, why would they be wanting to do this?
Don't make me answer that, but I think a good hint of that is right there. I'm going to put this right dead in the middle of us, the show title.
No, not Chandler, a roundabout moron.
I'm staying silent. Tommy's a nice guy personally, but you got to step up the game, buddy. You are not an amigo, and you got a long way to go to get back to being an amigo.
I've known Tommy a long time. I like Tommy, like you said. I like Tommy a lot, but I don't know if Tommy's got what it takes to say no to a $30 million boondoggle in North Bossier. It may be a nice gym and it may end up being fantastic, but I don't think he's got what it takes to stop it. I don't think he can do it.
Ryan Haygood said it pretty simply in 2 words. He's terrible.
So I got an idea, right? And I've been thinking about this a lot because it's bothering me that nobody in Bossier is going to get the opportunity. And if they try to show up at a council meeting, the council's going to say, oh, they got an opportunity. They can come to the council meeting and voice their opinion. They can say they don't. And you know what'll happen? They'll get point of ordered. That'll be what'll happen. They'll get point of ordered. But if Bossier is so hell-bent on creating more debt, putting more debt on the backs of the people in Bossier, securing more bond money for the ability for them to just spend on whatever they want to spend on, I got an idea for y'all. Here's what you ought to consider. Why don't you take that $30 million that you're going to build this nonprofit that's not going to contribute any taxes to Bossier City? And if you do go ahead and do that, why don't you demand that the YMCA spend all of the money that they get in Bossier? Let's see if any of you have a spine to do that.
Yeah.
Any of you councilmen, is there any of you willing to stand up and demand if you're going to spend this $30 million in YMCA, you demand that they spend it in Bossier. They can't spend it out of here. Okay?
Barry Butler brings up a good point real quick. The YMCA doesn't generate enough economic stimulus to cover the cost of the bonds, so it will be another deal like the arena.
But back to my idea. I got another idea. If you councilmen, and Chandler, this is you as well too, but again, I don't think you got it in you to do it. But if y'all are so hell-bent on spending $30 million, to build some monument in North Bossier, I got an idea for you. Why don't you take that $30 million and go buy Link Coleman out down there so that we can get something and save some money on behalf of the citizens of Bossier? Take the $30 million, go buy Link Coleman out, and let's end this thing. Let's cut the bleeding.
So
what do you think about that, Rex?
Let me put some graphics back up here, and so here is the plan. That's a good idea, Duke. Let me add this up. Plan. Take the $30 million.
You're going to put it up there in a meme.
I'm going to make it nice for now. I do have a YMCA meme in progress.
So what do you guys out there watching? What do y'all think? I mean, do y'all think we need a YMCA, or do you think a more appropriate use of the money would be to buy Link Coleman out? If we can't do business with Link Coleman, maybe we can buy him out so that we can move forward with development of that part of Bossier City.
Well,
is that a bad idea, y'all think?
the next thing that those folks from South Bossier are going to want, I mean, what's the next thing they're going to want down there? The City Hall down there in South Bossier? The heck with them.
I hate to say it, at some point, South Bossier may be going to say, you know what? The ties that bind us are not there anymore.
Well, and before I get a bunch of hate comments and hate email, that was not me saying that about South Bossier. That was a direct quote made to me.
Oh, okay.
What are those South Bossier folks down there going to want next? They're going to want us to move City Hall down there? And I won't share the expletive that was used after that. And I'm not going to say who said it.
If we're going to spend $30 million on some structure or monument, we should at least be expecting to get some proceeds or benefit or tax dollars or revenue out of that investment, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should.
Or, I mean,
something that's beneficial.
Hopefully, we'll at least get a permit for the construction before we spend the money, right?
Right. And David Johnson saying, please say who said that. David, honestly, I can't. But let's just say he's not on Team South Bossier, and he's behind a city councilman that is definitely on Team North Bossier. Let's just put it that way. That's as close as I can get.
So I would encourage everybody watching, if you think that we need a YMCA, you should contact Mayor Chandler and tell him that he should absolutely not veto these bond packages going forward. And if you think we should have a YMCA, then I don't know. I think I got that backwards, didn't I?
Yeah, I think so. You just did.
Yeah, well, anyway. What are we at? 3 hours and 50 minutes or something?
I don't know. It'll probably be midnight here before long. So
I'm getting delirious. Yeah. And there's still 62 people watching me lose my mind. I think it's that background you put on me. It's starting to affect me. I don't know whether I'm coming or going.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, whoops, let me mute my phone here. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll start wrapping it up. So.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up. Y'all have to let Tommy Chandler know you do not approve of a YMCA. And I would argue that if he doesn't veto these bonds, you're going to get a YMCA whether you want it or not. And none of these councilmen, I think, with the exception of maybe Chris Smith, and Chris, if you're watching, I'm telling you, mandate, ask, demands that if they're going to do it, if all these guys are going to vote for it, stipulate that the YMCA has to spend the tax dollars in Bossier. That, there's not going to be any taxes. Their revenues, make sure they got to spend it in Bossier. Put that stipulation on them. We need to at least get something out of our $30 million of wasted money on here.
And and as we start wrapping up, let me just point out again, circling back to the Cypress District, where I showed you from the Attorney General, he did listen to the emails and all the other complaints that his office receives, so you can make a difference. So you need to reach out to your city councilman. Heck, reach out to your police juror over the fracking issue. Let them know you're not happy. You don't even have to reach out to just the one who is in your district either, by the way. They're all paid and their expenses that they get are done by all of our tax dollars. So when you reach out to one, reach out to all of them and let them know. It can and will make a difference if we make enough noise.
So I just had some updated anonymous information sent to me. You're going to love this.
That didn't take long.
You're going to love this. So y'all hang with us. We're not done.
Uh-oh. But wait, there's more.
So
we're going into overtime?
Well, I must have touched the nerve on the YMCA.
Uh-oh.
Information's pouring in. So do you know the YMCA in Shreveport, do you know where the money for that was derived from?
Wasn't it one of the oil and gas companies? Or where did it come from?
BHP paid for the building for the YMCA on the riverfront.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Right.
So, and the YMCA, that apparently their groundbreaking one in South Shreveport off of Ellerby Road,
mm-hmm.
the construction costs are being covered by an anonymous donor.
Really?
So
Shreveport has all these cool donors. I mean, we had Dr. Bukowski did the relighting of the Texas Street Bridge. He stayed anonymous for quite a while, but finally, came out of the woodwork and claimed that. Now they've got somebody in South Shreveport donate. That's awesome. And meanwhile, up here, our police jury is trying to piss off the oil and gas companies.
yeah, they're trying to piss them off, and in Bossier City, we're going to pay for all of it. What the hell? They're going to use tax dollars to do it.
Imagine that.
I mean, are we galactically challenged in Bossier City?
I guess. And, I just go back during the city council races and all that. I was told in my office that Bossier City had no debt, was basically debt free. That's a quote. And I'm not going to say which campaign it was from.
Well, I don't know. I got to tell y'all got to weigh in on this thing, and you got to shut it down. And I'm not YMCA, I got nothing against the
Right.
YMCA. I remember going to the one over there where Lowe's is, or used to be, right there back when I was a kid, It was a pretty good deal, lifting weights, and it's nothing personal against the YMCA, but it's ridiculous to be using taxpayer dollars for this, and we're not going to make anything off of it. I mean, if we're going to make a fortune off of it, please, somebody show me how it makes monetary sense. Show me.
Right.
But obviously, your councilman, it's your tax dollars. They don't care.
Yeah. It's other people's money, not theirs. They don't care. So, Okay. Any other new and exciting information coming in at the last minute? I'll have
Not
to pull up
tonight.
I'll have to pull up the breaking news graphics again.
I think we got to determine a cockroach of the week.
Oh, really?
Who tonight? I think we should put it to our viewers. Who do they think this week already? I mean, I guess it spans last week.
Yeah.
I wonder if our viewers, or unless you have an idea, Rex.
Not off the top of my head. I kind of want to say Hudson, only because, he was kind of stuck in the middle. But we need to explain what the cockroach of the week is. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It could be worn with a badge of honor, because it might mean that you're somebody who's kind of bucking the system and bucking the good old boy system. So it could kind of go either way.
There's some different candidates here, Tommy Chandler, Tahoe Tommy. Tahoe Tommy, goes to Vegas, you
Goes to Dallas.
Misses his first budget meeting.
Well, I'm sure he probably had a business trip or something. There's no telling. I'm sure he's been to all kinds of places in that Tahoe.
But we've got to resolve the rumor. We've got to resolve the rumor.
Okay.
That's what we're trying to do, is resolve the rumor. If we can confirm it, then that's one thing. So Tahoe Tommy, he wasn't even there for his first budget being voted on in Bossier City. You got the bond stuff going on, and now you're probably fixing to get sued by a contractor because you disparaged them. He's certainly in the running.
Yeah.
Ben with Manchac. What do you? Nah, not really. Probably, huh?
Not really. I don't know. You know who probably deserves it and who should probably wear it with a badge of honor? Chris Smith.
Now, why would Chris Smith?
He should wear it with a badge of honor because he is the only one so far that has tried to prompt any sort of discussion over any of these ordinances. Now, he missed the boat on the special meeting yesterday, prompting some discussion. But at least he tried to prompt some discussion, and he has gotten us some great quotes from David Montgomery. He got David to say the now infamous, "We don't shop."
And he's done it like being so courteous and nice. That kill him with kindness thing, it's just been absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Don't let me forget. I got it. David Jones. He just reminded me, because I said earlier I had an idea for the strip center, and he's prompted me. He don't want me to let it go.
Well, now you're talking about strip center, and we were talking about comfort professionals.
whoa. And we never were, point of order, as David Bond says, we were never making any accusations whatsoever in that case. That was a comment was made and we kind of had some fun with it.
Oh yeah, we were just horsing around.
Yeah.
Definitely not true. It was definitely in jest.
Yeah, without a doubt. But that's Strip Center. So, all right, the 30 million. Remember the 30 million YMCA. I had another idea, so if they're hell bent on spending this 30 million, go do the Link Coleman thing. And I left this part out. If they've got to have a YMCA, that strip center that they just bought for this Walter O. Bigby Parkway that they can't go because the railroad's got them shut down, turn that into the YMCA. Donate it to the YMCA right there on Benton Road. If you got to have a building, look at there. I just saved you $30 million.
Yeah, it'd be within walking distance. You could go over there and exercise and swim. It'd be great.
Yeah, you could just stop right there and you don't have to fight the traffic and you can do the swimming and the exercising and watching all everybody in line waiting to get through the lights on Benton Road.
Yeah, that's not such a bad idea. Okay, so circling back to Cockroach of the Week, I think it should be Chris Smith.
I can go with that.
I think so.
Go with that.
All right,
Yeah.
So here we go. We haven't done this in a while, folks, but the Cockroach of the Week is going to be City Councilman at Large Chris Smith. And Chris, from both Duke and I, you should wear this badge with honor because you are one of the few people that has been able to at least question something going on at the City Council. And you have blessed us with several quotes from King David that we can use over and over and over on our show.
Just watch out for those Zambonis because I hear they're hell on cockroaches.
Yeah, they're hell on cockroaches, and, you have Zamboni brothers there, so it's a 2-on-1 type deal. We're not going to mention any names, but, you just want to watch out for that. So, again, Chris, you've gone from amigo, you're still an amigo. You're just an amigo who's now Cockroach of the Week. In a good way.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a good evening.
We're out of here.